First of all, the northern and southern Cheyennes and Arapahoes, which that's 4 divisions of the 2 tribes, um, they come here every year for healing ceremonies. And that's generally around the anniversary date of the Sand Creek Massacre, which is around Thanksgiving time. And they hold a healing run, what they call a spiritual healing run, that goes from here to Eads, and the community there has a big meal for everybody. And then they run on to Lyman, then they go to Denver, and one of the first places they visit in Denver now is the Riverside Cemetery, where they honor Silas Soule, who was a captain here, who commanded a company of about 37 men who unanimously did not want to participate in this action. They also honor Lieutenant Joe Kramer and other soldiers who refused to be involved. They then go to a new monument or a new plaque, which is in downtown. I believe it's at 15th and Arapahoe, that marks the place where Silas Soule was actually killed. And he was killed in April of 1865 while responding to a shots fired call, essentially. He was the provost marshal for Denver and essentially like an MP today. Then they go to the Capitol steps, and there they hold prayers and speeches and so forth. And last year there was a pretty amazing speech by the mayor of Denver. It's the first time a mayor from Denver had showed up at the spiritual healing run. Gave a very poignant speech. I wish I had a copy of that, but anyway.
Me too.
There is a place now that these people come and they can, if you will, be full circle. One other place that's on site now is a burial ground. And so remains of their ancestors who were killed here, and there is a line of, if you will, evidence that says that these human objects, bones, skulls, scalp locks, and so forth, and I say that with most reverence toward those human beings, they can be brought back here and buried with ceremony. And they are. And so far I think we've had 3, and we anticipate 1 more burial here in a designated burial ground. And that's here for everybody to see, not just the Cheyennes and Arapahoes. And but the very interesting thing about this site is we get people from all over the world come here. We get them from Sweden, Italy, Germany, France. We had, I want to say a little man, well, he was a smaller man, and he came all the way from Japan. And he came here with a piece of rice paper, and the other interpreter and I were here, and he made a special effort to come here to get the stamp of the site to put on his rice paper. And every 2 years he came here, every other year he came here, and he made pilgrimages to these various sites. And he just didn't come here for the stamp. He came here and spent several hours absorbing what was going on here. We have family members, descendants, and so forth. One of the really surprising things that's happened here is we've had soldier descendants show up here. And that was kind of a surprise when we first opened in 2007, and we started having soldier descendants, and some notables within that we knew the names of. And they come here with great reverence, and they want to understand what the place looks like. So it's not just for Native Americans, although we've had Yaquis and Tarahumara from Mexico. We've had Cree and Ojibwa from Canada, and we've had many different tribes from the United States. People from those tribes come here, and they know the story, and they want to say prayers, they want to pay reverence to the site. My dad kind of mentored me when I was a kid growing up about, the importance of history. If you learn from history, then you won't become a victim of history. Dr. Gary Roberts, who has devoted much of his life to the study of Sand Creek, he looked at the Sand Creek Massacre not just as a singular event, but he looked at it, I would call him a humanist, and so he studied it as part of the human condition. He's very reverent and very considerate of the importance of this to the Cheyenne and Arapaho people, but he looks at it from also the fact that it's not about, he calls it a good man thesis, and he says it isn't about whether good men went bad, or bad men did bad things, or good men did bad things. It's the important thing, the lesson we can take away from a place like this, which is unique, very unique, even within the national park system. And we have battlegrounds all over the place and thousands of graves all over, like Andersonville, a very, very emotional place to go. But if we'd learned from the lesson of Sand Creek, it's more about what we can do to prevent things like this from happening in the future. We learned the lesson that this was not the things we should do as humans. We should prevent these kinds of things from happening. We should stand up. I think it was Blake said something to the effect that the only thing necessary for evil to win or survive or whatever is for good men to do nothing. And so it's kind of that is put on us here, and that's something we should all take to heart so we don't become victims of history. Yeah. I think I can answer that question by this, is what people have told me. Perfect. When visitors come here, whether they know a lot about the history, they know little about the history, once they come here, many of the visitors, and I can't give you a quantitative number about how many or anything, but many of the visitors that come here, they walk away from here, and one of the things they say on walking away is they can't believe how peaceful it is here, even in a windstorm, even when there's been cold weather, even when there's been rainstorms. They come away from here and they will say almost universally, I didn't expect to feel the way I feel when I leave here. And that's been one of the neatest things for me, one of the most fortunate experiences for me to see that reaction with people.